Hey guys! Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. I am back with the final review of the Huda Beauty palette. It took longer than a week. It is going to be a continuation or a follow-up of the previous video that I posted on this channel. It is going to be my final review on the Huda Beauty Rose Gold eyeshadow palette, the textured eyeshadow palette. This was a product that I filmed the first impressions on already, and that is the previous video on my channel. It's going to be linked down below, and it's also going to appear as a card somewhere on the screen here. And in that first impressions, I gave you guys, obviously my first impressions, and swatches of these eyeshadows. So all the swatches are there. If you're interested in seeing them, I will link it again down below. So in that video, I stated that I was going to test these eyeshadows out for a week and let you guys know what my thoughts are on it. Actually, it has been way more than a week. I have had this baby for, I want to say, almost a month now. So I've played around with it a lot. So between the time I filmed that first impressions video and the time I uploaded it to my channel, it had been at least 1 or 2 weeks of a delay because I had a lot of studying to do, so I hadn't edited it as quickly as I had hoped. I'm pretty sure we've hit a month now that I've owned this, played around with it, used it almost every day, going to work, school, going out. Like I've used this to death to really get a good idea of how the eyeshadows perform for you guys. And I know this palette inside out. I know how all of the eyeshadows perform, all the formulas, everything. So I am ready to give you guys my honest, brutally honest thoughts on this palette. If you guys are willing to stick through the entire video, you will find out what I think. So just in case you haven't seen my first impressions video, these are all the colors in the palette. It's really, really beautiful. So as far as the packaging is concerned, I commented on it very briefly in my first impressions video, my last video, and all I said was that it's kind of clear and transparent and you can see all the colors, which I like and appreciate. Other people didn't really like the packaging. The only other thing I'm going to comment on about the packaging is that it's cardboard. It's not like a MAC palette. MAC palettes also are see-through and you can see the colors, but this is plastic. Like, it's plastic. This is cardboard. Now, I've been a fan of cardboard packaging in the past. Kat Von D's palettes are cardboard. I love Kat Von D's palettes. It's a thick, sturdy feel to it. It has weight to it. This one is... It doesn't feel as sturdy as the other cardboard packaging I've had in my lifetime using makeup. And the plastic here, the little like see-through window, it's very malleable, it's very bendable, and it's not as sturdy as I expected. It's perfectly fine to just have it stored in my drawer or on my vanity displayed. Like, nothing's gonna happen to the eyeshadows, but I wouldn't travel with this. I don't think that the cardboard is sturdy enough itself, and the little plastic window is definitely not sturdy enough. It bends so much with just applying pressure with my fingers. So I can't imagine if you had it kind of in a carry-on or in your suitcase and your suitcase was being thrown around. I don't know if these would shatter or not. So personally, I'm not a fan of the packaging. Like, the look of it I like, it's just the quality I don't think is there. But could you imagine, just on a side note, if the packaging was like insane quality, how much we'd be paying for this thing? Because the next thing I'm going to talk about is price. This, I think, is $60, 60 American dollars, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's like around $65. I'm pretty sure this palette is 65 American dollars. For Canadian people, what I paid for it as a Canadian on the Canadian Sephora website was $83. This is 83 Canadian dollars. I still consider Huda Beauty a indie brand. I don't consider them a high-end brand. Even though they're sold on the Sephora website, I still don't think of them as a high-end brand. I think of them as a starter-up kind of company, and they're kind of proving themselves when they're, launching new products. Considering this was her first time launching eyeshadows, like, she's not Urban Decay or Too Faced, like a well-known, well-established makeup brand in the industry. And they don't even charge that much for their eyeshadows. So to me, it's insane that she charged this much for her first eyeshadow palette. I don't know, just as your debut palette, I think it says a lot for you to be thinking you're worth 83 Canadian dollars, 65 American dollars. Like, that says a lot. You are making people, you're setting the bar high, and you're making people's expectations be the expectations they would have for a palette that is over 80 Canadian dollars. I was expecting it to blow me out of the water, especially since it was this new, innovative, textured formula, which I'm going to get into very soon. I just feel like you need to back it up with an amazing product to knock our socks off for that price tag. And I don't think she had this outstanding, amazing product. I think it's a good product, and I would repurchase it. Would I repurchase it for the amount of money that I had to pay for it? Maybe not. We've gone over the packaging, we've gone over the price. Now we're going to talk about the actual product you get. You get 18 shades. So 18 shades for $83 or $65 American is not the end of the world. Like, if you break it down, you're like, okay, it's not outrageously priced, but still, it's not the cheapest, price tag in the world. But the color selection of this is gorgeous. This is like a makeup addict's porn. I mean, look at this. This is beautiful. So not only do I love all the colors in here, but this top row and this one over here, those are all her textured eyeshadows. This new formula, it's these 5 over here and then this one. So I bought it to test those out and see if they're as good as everyone made them sound. Now, in my first impressions video, I did say the real textured eyeshadows are these 3 over here, and these 3 perform more like just Makeup Geek foiled eyeshadows, and I still stand by that statement. After a month of testing these out, I definitely stand by that statement. I think for them to say that there's 6 textured eyeshadows, I don't know. These 3 over here, these 3, 24K Rose Gold and Trust Fund, these 3 here are so textured, and they're a different formula. I don't care what people tell me. They're a different formula than these 3 over here. What is this? Fling, Dubai, and #Blessed perform like Makeup Geek foil eyeshadows. They are smoother in texture than these 3 textured eyeshadows. These ones are much smoother to the touch. They have a different effect when swatched out on the eye or the hand. These ones are much more chunky, flaky. They don't stick well to the skin, whereas these are just pure pigment. So out of all the textured eyeshadows, I prefer Fling, Dubai, and #Blessed for pigment. These ones are very hard to work with. I am not a picky person. I have loved palettes that other people have hated because, the shadows are hard to work with, or people don't like Makeup Geek foiled eyeshadows because they have to apply it with their finger. Like, I'm not a picky person. I will make things work. I will adapt to different products and, adapt to how they need to be used. Like, I am very easy to please in that sense. I'm not too picky, and there are lots of products that other people have hated, absolutely hated, and I've loved. I haven't shied away from products that have fallout, that I have to use with my finger, and that are a little harder to work with. So, all of that just to say, the only reason I said that is because I am the type of person that saw these textured eyeshadows as a challenge that I was going to accept. I wanted to find a way to make them work for me. And I did, but it took some trial and error. And even when I find ways to make them work for me, I still don't love them. I just like them, but I don't love them. I've used all 6 of them, the foiled ones and the textured ones on my finger, or with my finger on my lid. The 3 really, really textured, thicker formula, 24K Rose Gold and Trust Fund, those ones were kind of annoying. And I'm going to tell you guys the best way I found to work with them. But even then, there's issues. So what I would do is I would I would put my finger into the pan, I would have the product on my finger, and then I would try to put it on my eyelid, and what would end up happening is you can't swipe, you can't rub, you can't do any of that. You literally have to place it rather hard for it to detach from your finger onto your eye. You have to kind of tap it and dab it on there. You literally cannot take your finger and kind of blend it out, or else it just kind of flakes off. So you really have to place the product and then just don't touch it. Do not touch it if you know it's good for you. So because you can't really spread it out with your finger and rub, because that causes a lot of fallout, you end up having a very textured look on your eyelid, which I get is the point of the textured eyeshadow, but this is way too textured. It doesn't look like it's eyeshadow at that point. It looks like you took pieces of aluminum foil and stuck them individually on your eye, and they're all kind of just little pieces on your eye, and they're not one cohesive pigment of eyeshadow. It sounds so weird. I hope it made sense, but that's kind of what it's like, and it's not attractive. And I am young, so I don't have texture on my eyelids or fine lines and wrinkles. If you are anything over the age of 30, I'm gonna say that these are not gonna work for you, because they're gonna make you look 10 years older, okay? To get a smooth application, you have to kind of dab on where you want it and then try and blend it to make it one cohesive look. And what causes fallout is when you're trying to kind of blend it all out. So you're getting extra fallout. And what ends up happening is because a lot of it is flaking away off of your eye, you need to use more. And that is wasting the product twice as fast as you should be. Because there's two reasons for that. First is, like I said, the pigment is sticking onto my finger, but it's not transferring very easily onto my eyelid. And then on top of that, I'm losing product when I'm trying to blend it out on my overall lid so I get a nice smooth, even pigment. So half of that is falling onto my face, so I need to reapply and then repeat the process over and over again. So that it takes a while to build it up to look nice on your eyelid. Once you get a nice smooth application of it, it's so textured and so thick that like your eyelid is going to look a little weird. You're going to have to blink a few times. You know how you have your eyelid, and then when you open your eye, all of the natural folds and creases of your eye kind of take over so that you're able to open your eye and not just have them shut all the time. You're going to have to do that a few times. Your eye's going to have to work into the product. It's like getting new shoes. Your feet have to kind of work into the shoes and, you know, adapt to them, and you end up getting a lot of, you know, blisters. Well, that's kind of what your eye is going to have to do. You have to blink a few times so that your eye kind of gets over this goopy mess you have on it and kind of just finally opens. And once your eye kind of blinks a few times, it's okay. It'll start to kind of look like it belongs on your eye. Instead of looking like one sheet of metal, it's going to look like just a regular foil eyeshadow on your eyelid. But the process it takes to make it look good is what makes me think it's not necessarily a good thing. Like, these textured eyeshadows were a great concept, but they don't translate very well on the eyes, and it takes a very long time to get them to a point where they look good. And I don't want to hate on them, but that's just kind of my experience with it. And that was the first few times I was using them. Now I am able to use them perfectly fine, but there's a learning curve to it. So I just spent probably like 7 or 8 minutes bashing them, but I'm not really bashing them. I'm just giving you guys a warning that you're going to go through the learning curve I did, and you're going to go through these trial and error periods where you're going to be like, these are crap. And I'm so happy that the way things turned out, me being busy, not being able to put this video out till now, that it's been a month, because if I had waited after the first week, I would have said I hated these, but I don't. I actually like them. And it took me a while to get used to using them, so after like the whole month went by, now I'm able to use these fine. I know how to work with them, how to adapt with them. So do I think these are amazing? No. But they are good, and when you figure out how to use them, you get a nice effect. As far as the mattes go, if you saw my swatches in my previous video, the swatches are really impressive with the finger. Other people weren't so impressed with the matte eyeshadows. They actually didn't like them at all. I stand by what I said in that video. The matte eyeshadows are pretty good. They are not the butteriest formula, and when you touch them, you're gonna feel like you're touching maybe like drugstore quality eyeshadows, I guess. They're not gonna be super buttery. They're just gonna kind of be stiffer, but I actually find that a good thing, and I'm going to explain why. The pigment of the matte eyeshadows, which are basically everything except the first row here and this one, so these are all matte eyeshadows. The pigment is not sacrificed. So even though they're not super buttery smooth, or the texture's kind of just okay, it's not exceptionally well made in that sense, like to the touch, the pigment that they give off is beautiful. It is just the right amount of pigment that you need to make a really nice eye look. So I like the matte eyeshadows in here. And my opinion from the first impressions video has not changed, in the sense that I am still I'm not in love with the textured eyeshadows, and that's what I thought I would love and be completely amazed with. I'm actually liking the matte eyeshadows. And I actually would argue that the fact that they're not buttery smooth is a nice, refreshing twist to what I'm used to working with lately. So an example of this would be the Anastasia Beverly Hills Modern Renaissance palette, which I have, showed a video on. I think I said it in that video, and if I didn't say it, I'm saying it now. When I put my brush into one of the matte eyeshadows in there, I get way too much pigment on my brush. So if I don't tap my brush off, I'm going to get fallout all over my face, or it's going to be way too much. Matte eyeshadows that are too buttery in that sense, you end up wasting a lot more product. This formula of matte eyeshadows is actually a blessing in disguise. The fact that they're not super buttery to the touch is not the worst thing in the world, because what ends up happening is you get just the right amount of pigment onto your brush. You don't have to tap off your brush. You don't get extra pigment or extra like product built up in the pan that you have to just end up wiping away or blowing away. Like I don't know how they did it, but like, you just dip your brush in and enough product is going to attach itself to the brush bristles and apply to your eye. You're going to get beautiful pigment without all the hassle of the fallout and, you know, the wasted product. You're literally just not even wasting that much product. You're getting just the amount of product that you need to get onto your eye. For me, I think the good part of this palette are the matte eyeshadows and the shimmery eyeshadows. The two I haven't mentioned. There's two also just shimmery, standard shimmery eyeshadows. They're not exceptional, they're not extraordinary, so I would lump them up with the mattes where they're usable, they do the job, but they're not like amazing. So I appreciate the fact that I'm not wasting a lot of products with the mattes and that they're still pigmented enough. I had no issues blending with them. Some people said they weren't blendable. I actually liked the mattes in here. So for me, if you guys have watched my previous video, you would know that my opinion hasn't really changed on this palette all that much. I think the textured eyeshadows are just okay. I just think they're just okay. They are not something that I would go crazy and swoon over. They're fine. They're usable. After a while, when you learn how to use them, you get nice eye looks out of them, but they're nothing out of this world. They have potential, and if she fine-tuned them a little more, I'm sure they would be everyone's favorites. But for right now, the way they are, they're not amazing, they're just okay. So that's just my opinion on it. I don't hate it. I don't hate it, and I don't want this to come off as me bashing it or hating it. I do like it, but I'm not in love with it. So that's just my honest opinion and my honest experience after a month of using it. If you love this palette and you are like head over heels for it, and you're offended that I don't like it, like, please don't be. Makeup is so subjective, and there have been things that I have loved and other people have destroyed in reviews. They've basically, like, oh my god, they've just tore those products down, and I wasn't offended, and I figured, you know what, makeup is very subjective. One person's treasure is another person's trash. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you haven't already. All my links to all my social media will be down below. That's it for today's video. So I hope you guys have a great day or night, wherever you are in this world. Whenever you are watching this video, I hope it is a great one, and I will be seeing you guys in my next video. Till then, I love you all. Bye.